Hi, I'm the Red Rodent, and today I'm going to talk to you about ranking the Suicide Squad's members' movie incarnations. So, throughout the Suicide Squad movies, there have been four different incarnations. Technically, three if you include different cinematic universes. So, you have Suicide Squad by David Ayer and The Suicide Squad by James Gunn, both connected to the dead DCEU. Afterwards, you have the next version, Batman Assault on Arkham, which was supposed to be connected to the Arkhamverse, but they later retconned that with Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, which, hot take here, is probably better due to the amount of inaccuracies and ridiculous plot threads they had in that movie. And 4, Suicide Squad Hell to Pay, which is connected to the DC animated universe, starting with Justice League War and ending with Justice League Dark Apocalypse War. So before I get into the main contents of this video, let me just give a heads up that there will be a sequel video which will be creating an ideal Suicide Squad in my personal opinion. So, anywho, let's get into this. Number 43 belongs to the Ten-Eyed Man, who... The Ten-Eyed Man was mentioned in Suicide Squad Hell to Pay to represent that the neck bombs can go off on accident in the installation process. That's it. As a result, it is a pretty easy demonstration of how most of the characters in the Suicide Squad are expendable. Not just expendable, I mean ridiculously, downright shitty, and if you could drop a few of these just to save the goddamn world, most people would click the goddamn button. Next is Cheetah, first appearing in Justice League Dark Apocalypse War as our number 42 spot. Cheetah has no voice lines, scratches a few people, and then gets shot in the head. So you can probably tell why she's not this low on the list. Similar logic applies to number 41, Bane, who Bane, aka, the man who broke the bat, has little voice lines in not one, but two films that he's appeared in. Batman Hush, and Justice League Dark Apocalypse War. He has more plot relevance than Cheetah, but he also was the big bruising idiot who decided to bring his fists with a few kryptonite enhancements to a Paradoom fight. AKA, you punch a few people for 5 seconds and then you get eaten alive. Rick Flag, who got really bad design work, is not killed at the end of his movie. However, he has little plot relevance outside of partially putting together the squad and getting his ass kicked by Batman, of all people, giving him the number 40 slot as a representative of Batman Assault on Arkham. Number 39 belongs to the Weasel. Now, the Weasel is somewhat hideous, but also somewhat funny. And he has no plot relevance outside of being the dumb post-credit scene that people feel like, oh crap, we've been catfished. So he is one of the few people who managed to survive the Corto Maltese beach battle because he partially drowned earlier in the movie. Now, if possible, I would have placed him just after Ten-Eyed Man. However, with the Creature Commandos installment coming out this October, November, somewhere in the fall region, I hope that they actually do something with him and don't have him as a plot point. Otherwise, I might just make a revised version of this video just to place him lower next to Ten-Eyed Man. Jumping in for number 37 comes KG Beast from Batman Assault on Arkham, who is another demonstration of how the neck bombs are a mind-blowing experience. As, he tests Amanda Waller's ire, and kaboom. This time, though, he tries to get away from the squad. Amanda Waller gives all the people an open pass, saying, come in, you can go. KG Beast was the first and only person to go, and kaboom, his neck bomb blew his brain apart. So, Number 36. Similar logic applies to David Ayer's Suicide Squad version of Slipknot. A super criminal with the ability to do nothing except be a normal human. also has a few armor pieces and has a grapple gun similar to Batman. When Captain Boomerang convinced him the tech bombs probably aren't real, he just went on by, slipping past and running away, and then kaboom, baby. Next comes Jewel Lee from Suicide Squad Hell to Pay. She is part of a duo known as Punch and Jewel Lee, a married couple who rob banks and commit other crimes for their own personal pleasure. However, she betrays her husband and kills him, which is a new backstabbing low on this team, and she has no redeeming qualities. There are some other characters who have redeeming qualities that are still backstabbers on this list, that are in much higher places. However, Julie has no redeeming qualities, and as a result, claims number 35. Number 34, you get Punch from Suicide Squad Hell to Pay, similar to his partner, Julie, previously mentioned. And he is somewhat closer to a better person since he genuinely loved Julie before he got his heart ripped out by her figuratively and literally, as she fell in love with another man who will be later mentioned on this list, and got his heart torn out by his own device. So, he's gone. Number 33, you get Black Manta from the DC Animated Universe, who first came out in Justice League Throne of Atlantis, who was next seen after that, even though he originally started as a minor role, as a somewhat minor role as a foot soldier for Ocean Master, very big departure from the comics where he wants nothing to do with Atlantis outside of his own destruction. Black Manta manages to control the Manta Ray ship, which flies across the sky and transports the first team of Suicide Squad and Suicide Squad Hell to Pay, and he later fights against Paradigms much more successfully than Cheetah and Bane by using kryptonite swords and lasers. But he still has no dialogue and gets ripped apart nonetheless. Number 32 is King Shark from Batman Assault on Arkham. Now, this is going to be the first actually plot-relevant character in this ranking, and I place him so low due to several factors. First off, he is very inaccurate in comparison to the comics. He's a human with a metal jaw similar to Bane in Dark Knight Rises, who already had a hated enough concept, but how could they think to make it worse? How about you turn this into King Shark and give him a mullet while you're at it? Okay, so, outside of trying to cosplay knockoff Yondu and knockoff Bane, King Shark is originally supposed to be a half shark, half fish man, who, although dumb to an extent, and smart to an extent, looks like an actual shark. This has nothing to do with a shark. Also, he has a romance with Killer Frost, which, where'd that come from? They have nothing to do with each other. And she's just like, okay, he's big, strong, let's do it. And they don't even do anything with it outside of, like, what's wrong with him? Oh, wait, his neck bomb's blowing up. Guess his skin's too thick for electricity. Boom, he's dead. At number 31 comes TDK, played by Nathan Fillion, who is very irrelevant. His name is TDK, the detachable kid, who can separate his arms. And all he does with that is punch people until they shoot his arms apart. He's alive but in critical condition, and, well, I don't think Waller had enough resources, time, or care with him to go the mile and actually try to save him. I think they just left him on the beach to die. 30 gets Manga, which, to be honest, I hated her. And I genuinely thought when I first saw the movie, and the second time I saw the movie, how could she possibly get high enough to be, higher than about a third of the squad? But yet, here we are. She is practically higher than a third of the squad, because there are so many idiots and ridiculous characters that they've put into this franchise. Anywho, she decides, as the only action of relevance throughout her entire performance, I got this flag. She jumps up onto a helicopter, out off a ramp, with no powers or anything, jumps onto the helicopter, and just tries to bring it down with her pure strength, misdirects the helicopter into a bunch of trees, which impales Captain Boomerang 20 times, and then lands it into the jungle, killing herself and several other members of the squad. She is one of the biggest idiots in media history as a result. 29 gets Killer Croc from David Ayer's Suicide Squad. Also, just for context purposes, the prior two members, TDK and Mongal, are from The Suicide Squad from James Gunn. But Killer Croc from David Ayer's Suicide Squad is boring. They mention him as being a monster, treated as a monster, as a guy who looks monstrous, and is treated as a monster as a result, and he becomes a monster. However, outside of eating a deer carcass or whatever, he does nothing monstrous through the rest of the film. He swims up and he plants bombs and he punches people. Great. So, you have one of the most well-known Batman villains. Out of his over 500 plus count of villains, and you decide to just have him be your random punching guy. I can see why this film has such a low rating on the scale. Yeesh, it's just sad. Number 28, Savant. When I first saw Michael Rooker being casted to play Savant, I thought, okay, I like this character in the comics. He is a representation of Savant syndrome, and is a pretty chill side character for the Birds of Prey. However, they have him as a sadistic killer who shoots a few times at the Corto Maltese army and then runs away and gets his head blown off. I like his design. I liked his character, which, even though he's much more of a dick in this incarnation, I liked his character, but in the end, he still died pretty quickly and was another demonstration of how the neck bombs are used. Great. The number 27 slot belongs to Suicide Squad Hell to Pays, Count Vertigo. Now, do you remember Punch and Julie that I just mentioned, and how Julie betrayed her man for another guy? Well, this is him, Count Vertigo, the royal from the fictional nation of Vladova, had the ability to make people feel unconscious, nauseous, sick, and in agonizing pain. And for a majority of the film, instead of using these powers for any purpose, even though he's only in the beginning of the film, he uses a machine gun. He only showcases his powers to make Deadshot feel unconscious and nauseous temporarily. And even then, although he's supposed to be the leader of a squad, he is the biggest dick out of all of them. And he dies. It doesn't have any other plot relevance after the first 5 minutes of the film, and it just dies. 27, you get Blackguard, played by Pete Davidson, who is also amazing in SNL, in Transformers, Rise of the Beasts, and probably in the Kardashians, because you know what's going on over there. Anyway, besides that, he played a somewhat funny, ridiculous guy who eventually betrayed the squad in the first 5 minutes, called the Corto Maltese army, and just went, "Hey, it's me, guys, they're right behind me." And then, bang! He gets shot and killed. I mean, at least he has plot relevance unlike a majority of these guys, and he's actually likable, right? For 26, you get Javelin, played by Olympic gymnast and successful award-winning Flula Borg, who plays a guy who throws a javelin around. You may think, why is this guy so high on the list? He practically on his own has little to no plot significance. However, he passes down a legacy and a message to Harley Quinn, one of the best characters in the Suicide Squad history, played by Margot Robbie, of course, and demonstrates that you have a gift, you have a reason. He serves as a wise mentor figure in the last few minutes he has left on this mortal plane, and gives Harley Quinn the javelin, which is later used to help kill Starro. And so, he gets a higher spot on this list. For number 25, you get Killer Frost from Assault on Arkham. Javelin's from the Suicide Squad, just for reference points, but besides that, though, Killer Frost is cold as ice, similar to her power. However, there's no character arc, there's no character reference. All you have, outside of possibly her appearance and slight mention of her power, is nothing. But at least she has more plot relevance and at least somewhat recognizable, understandable sociopathy that you don't see in a lot of characters. But, yeah. In 24th place, you get Amanda Waller, played by, I don't know. And to be honest, it doesn't really matter. Amanda Waller is a sociopathic character in every incarnation. This variation from Batman Assault on Arkham. And she's my least favorite variation because although she does portray the appearance of a pure evil Amanda Waller, the beauty of other Amanda Waller incarnations show that she has a purpose and a reason for everything. This version of Amanda Waller, although she wants to kill the Riddler, which makes some sense, there is no possible tension or point of humanity in this version of Amanda Waller. Every other version of Amanda Waller, including the comics, has a reason, an overall reason. The comic Waller doesn't want to lose. She wants to get a victory. The Suicide Squad's Amanda Waller is somewhat human and she wants to protect her country, but she also is feeling agony at having to put certain lives at risk, as portrayed by the Suicide Squad, which places her a lot higher on this list. And Suicide Squad Hell to Pay is dying. She's dying of cancer, which, spoiler alert, but she's dying of cancer, and she wants to ensure that she can go to heaven. This version, however, nada. 23 is Captain Boomerang from Suicide Squad Hell to Pay. Now, this version is as petty and ridiculous as any version of Captain Boomerang can be. He will betray his teammates. He will do anything for self-survival. However, like I mentioned in other prior versions, there's no humanity to him. He's jealous, he's ridiculous, but there's not even a tinge of relatable connectability. And he throws one or two boomerangs at best before, although he doesn't die, he's taken out of the story for the rest of the film. He has little relevance, but he does serve as a rival to Deadshot throughout whatever time he has in the film, so prop points for that. 22nd place gets another representative from Batman Assault on Arkham, Black Spider, aka Eric Needham. Now, Black Spider serves as a vigilante who goes around killing mob bosses and killing other murderous criminals going across on the streets. However, although he demonstrates in one line that he doesn't want to work with killers and murderers and whatever, he never demonstrates any point of reluctance towards working with his coworkers after that. After that, he becomes a two-dimensional character who Batman later knocks out and dresses like Batman so that way the Joker can kill him. 21st place gets Crystal Frost, aka Killer Frost. Now, the past incarnation is a revised version of Louise Lincoln. Crystal Frost, on the other hand, although similar in cold frostiness, this version has an actual backstory. That her parents were abusive and cold, and as a result, she became cold and sociopathic. And she demonstrates a desire to gain whatever she wants for herself. But at least in this version, like several other characters that have been cast aside in this video, you can understand why she's become who she is. Also, she has a pretty sick fight with Copperhead before she freezes him to death, and, well, it's just a really good movie. You've got to see it. And, well, Killer Frost, I already mentioned the place. At number 20, you get Katana, played by Karen Fukuhara. Now, this one is a very stoic character, and she just wants to do whatever's best for the world. As a result, she joins the Suicide Squad willingly. Played in David Ayer's Suicide Squad, Katana is very similar to the comics and has an interesting and incredibly cool redesign. However, as there are a lot of other better characters on this list, she has to be put down this low. 19 has Captain Boomerang from Suicide Squad, David Ayer, and The Suicide Squad, James Gunn. Now, Suicide Squad, David Ayer represents the worst parts of Captain Boomerang. The backstabbing, hateful, greedy aspect of Captain Boomerang. And I genuinely hate that version of Captain Boomerang, but I know it's comic accurate, so it's alright. In The Suicide Squad, they make him more human. They make him more relatable. He connects to Harley Quinn, treats her like an old friend. And then, just when you're starting to like Captain Boomerang, you think, okay, maybe this might be a new direction for Digger. He gets impaled by 20 tree branches caused by Monkiel's goddamn helicopter incident and gets burned and caught up in the rubble. So that way, in the beginning of the film, you can see his hand reaching out of the rubble with a shiny boomerang. For a controversial take at 18, you will get Will Smith's Deadshot from David Ayer's Suicide Squad. Now, this whole movie was a mess, and a lot of people would say, Will Smith's Deadshot did a good job. They made him relatable, and although they did make him based on several of his comic book archetypes, such as doing this for his daughter, they also removed a lot of other aspects of his personality that, are crucial parts of his character. First off, his costume. His costume, instead of in the original comics, you get a metal helmet that allows him to fake his vital signs and give a sniper scope without a sniper scope. He is the masterful marksman who will do nearly anything to protect others. In this version, though, outside of refusing to take a shot at Harley Quinn, he does none of the sort. Also, the rest of his costume is just black padding around a red suit with a weird color that mentions stuff like, the world is the light. I mean, seriously, you couldn't have come up with anything more creative or original. Boring. 17th place gets Samir Park, aka Copperhead. Now, Copperhead on his own may seem like a very ridiculous, gimmicky villain, who originally in the comics had a snake suit. However, this version of Copperhead that they created practically just for the movie has cybernetic enhancements that turn him into a literal snake man. You have him use a literal coiling tail, sharp teeth, and venom spurts out of his mouth. Also, they make him display some of the funniest quips in that entire movie, such as when he fights Professor Pig, you have him say, "I smell bacon." I mean, seriously, this guy's a riot. We need to see more of Copperhead in this cinematic universe. And just any DC cinematic universe in general. However, because Copperhead was killed off in this movie, and the entire cinematic universe died after there, and Copperhead, in most incarnations, isn't taken seriously, we need to get a badass Copperhead soon. 16th place gets Suicide Squad Hell to Pay's version of Amanda Waller, who is more human than the prior counterpart I mentioned, and is a very complex, interesting character because you can see the desperation and lengths she goes to in order to try and preserve herself, which can be seen in Suicide Squad Hell to Pay, part of Batman Hush, and although I don't have it yet, Suicide Squad Hell to Pay's sequel novel, which I will be getting in the mail very soon, so I might put a video up explaining how her character arc changes throughout the years. Anyway, moving on. Number 15 is Harley Quinn from Suicide Squad Hell to Pay, who is very chaotic, very in tune with her character as being ridiculously over the top, humorous, and ridiculous. However, there's still one other version of Harley Quinn who is much funnier, and they don't demonstrate as much of her humanity in this project. As a result, she gets a much lower rating than her predecessor, which will be demonstrated later in this video. 14th place gets Captain Boomerang from this project, who demonstrates all the character traits that all prior versions of Captain Boomerang have faced and experienced and shown. However, you see a lot more screen time of him. You see him as a rival figure to everyone, and he is very dislikable, but also very likable. Which, since he's a composite of every single Captain Boomerang and a little more eclectic charm, he gets much higher on this list than, well, you get the idea. 13th slot gets Harley Quinn from Batman Assault on Arkham, which is the highest slot for anyone on this movie in this list. Because she is comedic, funny, and she is, well, she's somewhat gorgeous, and there is a very inappropriate scene for anyone who is under the rated R listing. You'll have, if you are a fan of these types of scenes, check that movie out. It's both great and terrible at the same time. You'll see it. Anywho, for that mention of the best character of Batman Assault on Arkham, I was referring to out of the women, which included Amanda Waller, Killer Frost, and Harley Quinn, which is pretty steep competition. However, for the guys and just in general, Deadshot demonstrates a lot of the traits that some of his predecessors on his list have had, such as Will Smith. However, he also demonstrates a sense of wanting to do good. He wants to do good so that way his daughter might look up to him, be proud of him. And that part is just gorgeous. Beautiful. Even especially making it worthy of number 12. Number 11 gets David Ayer's version of Jado Santana, aka El Diablo, who is also another character who joined the squad somewhat willingly because he wanted to redeem himself for all the horrible things that he's done. He is a man seen as God, who wanted to do himself right by God and wanted to protect others at any cost, which eventually led to him sacrificing his life in the pursuit of saving his teammates. Number 10 goes to Ben Turner, aka Bronze Tiger, who serves as a wise mentor figure and another squad member who seeks penance and repentance for all of his crimes, which has included the murder of thousands of ninjas after the death of his beloved wife. And he's given by Deadshot the Get Out of Hell free card to pass on to heaven. So, beautiful story, beautiful ending. And he's got fire-ass costumes. Also, he fought with Richard Dragon and Batman in the comics and was one of the few in the comics to actually beat Batman in hand-to-hand combat without any weaponry of any sort. Number 9 goes to David Dastmalchian's performance of Polka Dot Man in the Suicide Squad James Gunn edition. So, the Polka Dot Man, well, most people would think, does he shoot polka dots? Why is he called the Polka Dot Man? He's a faggot. Or at least that's what Calendar Man said. Well, he does shoot polka dots. And that's because of a rare interdimensional disease, which makes him a very sad, dark, and depressed character who hated and killed his mom because she almost turned him into a full-on monster. And he can only kill people when they look like his mother as a result, which is pretty messed up, but all his life he wanted to become a superhero. And with the Suicide Squad, he was able to become a superhero. And then just when we get to see the most human part of his entire existence, he gets stomped on and killed by Starro. He could have raised up the ranks even higher somehow. However, his ranking is lowered because he died. Rest in peace, Polka Dot Man. Rest in peace, Abner Krill. At number 8, we get Daniela Melchior's incarnation of Ratcatcher, specifically Ratcatcher 2. So, the origin story for her father, who was played by Taika Waititi, explains that he was a Portuguese scientist who created a device that allowed him to communicate with rats, which the original version of Ratcatcher in the comics was an outcast who just communicated with rats as his only friends. So, anywho, Ratcatcher 2 saw her father die of poverty and whatnot, and she decided to come to America and use the rats to rob a bank. Got arrested, and as a result, she became like a daughter figure to Bloodsport. And she is one of the most human characters in the Suicide Squad by demonstrating fear in her enemies, such as Peacemaker and the death of Rick Flag. Love, in terms of trying to become friends with King Shark. And Bloodsport. And a lot of other crazy, wacky stuff that makes her an amazing character. Don't know what else to say about that. Number 7, we get the GOAT Viola Davis playing another GOAT, Amanda Waller, who demonstrates a sense of humanity in her Amanda Waller. Although Amanda Waller, in several incarnations, including her previous Suicide Squad appearance, which is connected to this variation, where she will kill off anyone to get her goals, this version also shows her regretting some of her decisions and trying not to make them because she knows that she still cares for them. She still understands that they're human beings. And that part makes for an amazingly conflicted and amazingly three-dimensional Amanda Waller, which is something that not even the comics has portrayed. Great job, Viola Davis. If you haven't gotten an Oscar, you really deserve one. If you did get an Oscar, congratulations, and you deserved it after so many years in the field as an amazing actress. At number 6, you can get King Shark from The Suicide Squad, James Gunn edition. Now, as you can see through this picture, he is getting hugged by Ratcatcher. And that is because he is our friend, and he is shown as a very lovable, connectable character, even though he's a giant man shark that eats and rips apart people. He is the dumb idiot who will always be ready to attack and will defend his friends. And he practically was able to gnaw off a good amount of Starro, so. Also, another fun fact that a lot of people will be surprised about, he is voiced by Sylvester Stallone. Rambo is getting a voice job role as the dumb idiot giant shark man. Crazy, right? Also, King Shark isn't exactly perfectly comic accurate as he's much smarter in the comics. However, it is still with a dumb idiot idea, hysterical. He makes a lot of the best jokes in the movie. Number 5, we have Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn, the best incarnation of Harley Quinn due to her comedic, funny charm, her gorgeously stunning looks, amazing performance by Margot Robbie, connectedness to the comics, and just everything about her. She is an amazing character who always brightens the screen up and will make even the most dumb and boring characters seem like they're having a jolly good time. Also, the only reason why she isn't higher on the list is because there are also a bunch of other amazing characters here. At number 4, we have Bloodsport, my favorite portrayal by Idris Elba. The only reason why he's ranking this low in comparison to other characters is because he was originally intended to be Deadshot and then they twisted it into Bloodsport. It's still a much better variation of Bloodsport than the original comics had. However, the lack of originality in the Deadshot story is one thing that lowers him. However, for his plus side, you give him nanotechnology weaponry that allows him to create nearly any weapon possible, including a saber, several forms of pistols, rifles, helmets, etc. And, well, it's Idris Elba. He has amazing British charm. At number 3, we have our most eccentric Suicide Squad member in history, which is surprising considering the wacky amount of faces you will find in this project. John Cena's portrayal in The Suicide Squad and the corresponding TV show sequel, Peacemaker. Peacemaker will always find a way to make a joke out of any possible scenario. And, well, he's made fun of every single Justice Leaguer and a majority of their corresponding allies, such as Green Arrow. The original Suicide Squad project shows him as mostly unlikable. And he's just a up in his asshole style idiot who will do stuff on command just because it's a command. He does not have any form of humanity in there. But the Suicide Squad demonstrates Peacemaker gives him humanity to the extent that they show his backstory. They show the abuse that he's faced, how he's accidentally killed his brother, and how he's been trying to move on past that grief throughout the entire plot, eventually leading to him killing his racist knockoff Ku Klux Klan father, the White Dragon. At number 2, we have Deadshot from Suicide Squad Hell to Pay. This is the highest variation for Suicide Squad Hell to Pay members, and this is because of his humanity. And as I've previously mentioned with Bloodsport, he demonstrates all the comic aspects of Deadshot, trying to do things for his family, specifically his daughter, trying to be a better role model, similar to Batman Assault on Arkham. He is a cutthroat killer, but he also wants to save as many people as he can, trying to make up for the wrongs of the past through doing dirty deeds done cheap. But the one distinguishing factor outside of the charm and beauty of Christian Slater's voice performance is the fact that he actually manages to get a somewhat happy, reuniting scene with his daughter. In fact, twice. He manages to see her off in foster care when he goes rogue on a mission, and later he gets to see his daughter again when he's let free at the end of the film. So, kudos to the writers of Suicide Squad Hell to Pay, and really hire these guys back. They've got great ideas. I mean, seriously, with the rate that the majority of your projects are going in your new Tomorrowverse, that is just going to be shut down in 2 more Crisis on Infinite Earth sequels, even though they've barely had 10 projects prior. Bring these guys back to do a Suicide Squad film. Or bring these guys back to do any other DC film. They do great with it. They have so many connecting plot points from all prior movies that you'd really enjoy. And at number 1, we have Rick Flag, played by Joel Kinnaman. The original performance is somewhat similar to how Peacemaker is in the Suicide Squad. But even though they don't demonstrate his backstory, they demonstrate how important the job of making the peace, of how important saving others' lives, and how important it is to be an all-American hero Rick Flag is. Rick Flag demonstrates heart, and he demonstrates a connection with anyone he goes with, such as the Enchantress, Katana, Soul Soria, Bloodsport, Harley Quinn, and others. And Peacemaker, after killing this guy, still cries and weeps about it because he knows that he was a good person. His death is one of the few, if not only, deaths in the entire Suicide Squad, or possibly DC franchise in past years, that you might actually cry to at his death. And I will end this movie off with his final line, Peacemaker. What a joke.